Hi everybody, I'm going to show you how I've been recovering during the quarantine without access to all my regular stuff and kind of the little tricks and things that I do to basically just survive the week as well as I can. So I'm going to take you with me to go get my ice because I just finished working out. We'll go from there. I also apologize if you can hear that. Listen. That is highway construction that I think the neighbors think is me lifting, so it's not helping my situation with the noise complaints, but hopefully that goes away and isn't there for the whole video, but if it is, welcome to my world. Alright, first, this is my ice bath in all of her glory. She's literally right outside my garage. I'll go over the specifics and everything of how big she is, and I don't know why I'm calling it a her, but she's a her, when we get back from getting ice. Alright, so step one, I found this really kind of sketchy like ice vending machine. I don't know if it's a chain, I don't know what it is. It would definitely be worth looking for in your area because it's so much cheaper. So it's $2 for 20 pounds and I usually get 80 pounds of ice. So that's 4 bags from this place. I'm not going to drive and video at the same time, but I'll show you when we get there. Okay, this is the place. It's like literally a vending machine. Now there's someone else here, so I'm gonna have to wait, but it's $2 per bag. You can also bring like a cooler and fill it. You can bring whatever you want really and fill it with ice, and it's only $1 if you do like the bulk version, but I always do the bags just because it's a little bit easier. We're back with the ice. Now I'm going to take the cover off. I keep it covered usually for about a week at a time. I live in Florida, so it's hot and gross, so I have to chlorinate it. But this cover is literally just one from like, I think Amazon, and it's a furniture, outdoor like furniture cover. It's made for like tables, but it's fine. And it has like a little drawstring at the end, so I can suck it all in. So take it off. So I've had this one full for probably close to a week, so it'll overflow if I don't empty it a little bit when I put the ice in. So I have to empty it a little bit. And that's a really cool thing about this tub. I don't know if you can see it down there. Let's see. Here, so down there, there's a little, a little like twist off cap thing, and that's how I drain it. So this is a 100-gallon Rubbermaid tub. I found it, I think at Ace Hardware for like 80-90 bucks. Got it delivered. I think it's called like a livestock tub because it's made for farm animals or something. But it works really well. It's nice to be able to have some sun. I'm a little bit late today, but usually the sun makes it a little bit more tolerable to be in freezing cold water for 15 minutes. And for me, I couldn't fit my whole legs inside my bathtub, so I'd have like the top part of my quad sticking out. So this one I can literally go neck deep and be completely submerged. So I think it's much better than a bathtub. If you don't want to spend 80 bucks, use a bathtub. It's fine. She's ready. So she's pretty icy. She's pretty cold. I don't know the temperature, I've never measured it, but it's cold. Alright, so I'm setting a timer for, I usually do 15 minutes. So yeah, starting that now. Oh. Oh, she's overflowing a little bit. Okay, so normally, oh my gosh, normally I would play music. Like I tend to play stuff that I know every single word to. So like if you have an album that you wouldn't skip any songs, like that's the time to do that. I've tried to watch like Netflix or something while I do it, but it doesn't really help. I have to like usually listen to something and sing, as annoying as it is. But for today, I will answer your questions that I've saved. First questions are about recovery, so I'll do this usually 3 times a week. I know it's a little bit conflicted for some people of how well ice baths work for recovery. I personally love them. If anything, they make my joints a little bit less achy. And there's a really big difference between going into a training session the next day and be like, oh man, like I'm really not recovered. I didn't do everything that I could have yesterday to make myself feel good today, versus coming into it saying, well, I took my ice bath, I stretched, I did everything that I needed to do, and I'm as recovered as I can be. And that, just having that like little extra like mindset of, I know I am more recovered than I could be, is helpful for me anyway. Also, I usually go, so it's like up to my chest. If I'm having wrist or hand issues, like my hands get really torn up, and I usually will ice bucket them during the week, but sometimes just sticking them in here helps. If my wrists are really bothering me, I'll sit with my hands in like that. And then usually the last 5 minutes, I just go all the way up to my neck, which really sucks, but gotta do what I gotta do. Things I wasn't prepared for when I became a professional lifter. A lot of things, actually. Weightlifting wasn't really like a popular sport when I started. There wasn't anybody that was super well known across like sports in general, not just within the weightlifting community. So kind of like having to make my own path as far as like social media and just things that aren't even related to the sport was weird, because it's not like I was following in somebody's footsteps. It was like kind of unknown territory for a weightlifter to get notoriety outside of the sport. So navigating all of that was weird at first. I think I kind of figured out how to deal with it for the most part. That's really the biggest thing. I mean, you don't really know what to expect when you become a professional athlete, but you figure it out along the way. Next question. What does a full day of eating look like? Well, right now I'm behind on my meals, so I have a whole thing of chocolate milk so I don't fall too far behind, because when I'm done with it, I think I still have like 3 meals left. I follow RP Strength, so they basically plan out my entire day, and my macros are centered around when I'm training and how hard and how long I'm training. Right now, since I'm still gaining, I definitely rely on drinking a lot of my macros and my calories. But in general, without being too specific, 6 meals a day, intra-training shakes, both carbs and protein. I'm not going to give specific numbers because I feel like that's kind of irrelevant. But as far as calories go, I'm usually between 4,500 and 5,000 as of right now. That's definitely not like a normal thing, but I've been trying to gain since about September. So it's been a constant caloric surplus for now. I mean, it'll change eventually, but that's usually about where I hover. Next question. How do you manage fatigue and avoid overtraining? So that's a hard one, actually. I think for my first few years in my career, I did not do a very good job of that. I kind of had like the newbie gains, and I was young in the sport and just young in general. So I didn't get that fatigued. Like I could just go. And then eventually I kind of hit that wall that every athlete hits at some point. And it was kind of like a shock. Like I can't go 4 months without a deload week, or I can't try and PR something every day. And just understanding that not every day is going to be max effort. And I think, especially starting with when I started with Amy, we have basically 3 on, 1 off. So like next week is my deload week. And so this week is usually the week where if things are going to hurt, it's now. I'm going to feel tired. It's the highest intensity that I'll be hitting. So like this Friday is probably going to be the heaviest day I've had in a while. But then next week I know is back off week. So I'll have much easier days, give my body and my mind time to recover, because I think I need mental recovery as much as physical during those deload weeks for sure. How do I mentally psych myself up on off days? I think that's definitely relevant right now since we're all in quarantine. Sometimes you just gotta understand that you're not gonna be like psyched up. You have to do it anyway. I think for me, training in my garage was a weird adjustment, because it's like going from, all right, Netflix on the couch time to rolling literally like 20 feet away into the garage and being in that like training mindset. And sometimes it's just not there for me. Other times, having a little bit of extra caffeine will really help. I'm pretty sensitive to caffeine, so it's not like I don't take pre-workout or anything like that. So if I just have like extra coffee, sometimes that'll be enough. And sometimes training is like pulling teeth. I mean, it's like dragging it through. And those are the days that I really focus on one rep at a time, one set at a time, really being present and intentional with everything that I do. And that's something that Amy taught me and really has helped me a lot during this quarantine time especially. Because if I'm doing my snatches and I'm thinking about the clean and jerks, pulls, squats, presses, and accessory that I have over the next like however many hours till I'm done, it's going to make snatches that much harder. So if I only focus on this one rep, this one set, when that one's done, it's gone, focusing on the next one. Next question, what is the best way to maintain strength during quarantine with limited equipment? I think step one is accepting that you're probably going to lose something. I mean, we're in a pandemic, like we're in a weird time and people don't have access to what they normally have. So you just gotta have to make do. And like it's kind of like the people who can't get their hair done right now. Like they're just accepting like, I'm gonna be a little bit uglier and then once it's all over we can get back to normal. So like, I mean, I guess it depends what you have. There's plenty of body weight workouts you can do. If you just have a barbell and no weight, there's plenty of stuff that you could do. If you only have dumbbells, like you can get pretty creative, and there's a lot of stuff online. If you just kind of Google what you're looking for specifically. I'm biased, but Catalyst is also putting out daily programs for no or limited equipment, which I'm sure are very helpful. I don't know. I think that doing anything is better than doing nothing, regardless of what your training goals are. Like if you don't have anything and you're like, well, I don't have any equipment, I just gotta wait till gym's open again. That's probably the worst thing you can do. If you can do any kind of body weight things, if you wanna work on rehab exercises or core exercises, you could do so much to still better yourself, even with zero equipment. All right, one more, and then I have to go neck up, so I can't read the questions. Is it hard to train every day for a living? So, okay, I have 45 seconds. I'll keep answering this one. Yes, but I hate saying yes because I know so many people would love to train for a living, and it's a weird thing because I'm obviously so grateful to be able to do this for a living, but it is putting all of my mental and physical energy into my work. So a lot of people will go to an office job, they'll sit down, they'll kind of like mindlessly go through their day, and I can't really do that. And that's not to say one's harder than the other, but it is dedicating like everything that I have that day to my job. And it kind of makes it a little bit more stressful. I'm going neck deep. It makes it a little bit more stressful because if I have a bad training day, it's like, it feels like the end of the world. I know it's not the end of the world, but it's hard to kind of manage that because it is my job, but I also enjoy it. I don't know, it's a hard thing to balance. It kind of takes away some of the joy of lifting, as much as I hate to say that. That's just the reality of it. Sorry, I'm so cold. But training is 100% a full-time job. When I'm not training, the things I'm doing outside of the gym, the way I eat, the way I sleep, all of that is still very much part of my job. So it's kind of like, it's more than a full-time job. It's just everything that I do is part of my job. All right, there's another question about my my regular recovery. So normally I would get a massage weekly, which was something that I didn't do until I started with Amy. She convinced me on that, and it has been kind of life-changing. I would get a massage maybe like right before a big competition one time, and that's it. But it's definitely helped me be able to maintain the volume and intensity that she requires of me. So that hasn't happened probably, I don't know, like a month and a half. I don't know how long we've been in quarantine. All the days are blending together. So that's gone. That's definitely a big part of what I normally do. Ice baths. I do them usually 3 times a week. My PT is still open, so I can still see him once a week, which is amazing. And I have a bunch of stuff, just like literally just stuff I've collected over the years. Like I have a cupping set, I have a Graston tool, I have one of the vibration things, I have a power dot. So I have all these like little goodies, but the bulk of it is eating right, sleeping enough, massage, ice bath. I don't really like to have to do all these fancy things. I like to just be able to do it myself, so in times like this when I don't have access to everything, like, it's not detrimental. I'm not going to not be able to train because I can't see the therapist that I need to. Sorry, I'm shivering so much. I think the better version of this would be the ice chest, I think it's called, or like the big freezer that opens, like the things I have at 7-Eleven that hold the ice cream. I don't have space for that. My garage is packed, and I don't have a backyard because all the houses here are really close. I like this because I can dump it and move it inside if I need to, because this is literally like, this is where we park our cars. So I think this is like second best to that. I think absolute best ice bath option is the giant freezer. Just fill it with water and keep it like right above freezing, so then you don't have to buy ice, because ice is expensive. If you can find one of the places like I have, that definitely makes a huge difference. But I mean, it's still spending money multiple times a week, and we're pretty frugal and cheap here. So I don't love doing that. But it's better than having to go to like a grocery store or a gas station to buy ice. So if you can afford or have room for a freezer, do that. If you can't, this is pretty good. If you can't get this, a bathtub's pretty good. If you can't do that, you can literally do hot and cold shower contrast. I've done that before too, and it's fine. Whatever you can do is better than nothing, that's for sure. Alright, so I'm not going to drain that now because I'm going to use it either tomorrow or Thursday, and then I will drain it. But this is the stuff that I chlorinate it with. Spa Essentials. I'm not a professional pool person. This was suggested to me, read the instructions, and that's how I do it, and I haven't died yet. So that's a good way if you don't want to waste water and drain a 100-gallon tub every time you use it. I don't know. Be smart, don't be dumb. Definitely don't listen to me, read directions, because I don't know what I'm doing. Alright, so outside of that, my chocolate milk, I do rum one, usually a couple times a week. Obviously, I'll be honest and upfront, I'm sponsored by them. But I also just love it. I know there's other mobility routine people, but I've been with them forever. I love them. I have nothing bad to say about them. I think it's really effective. And yeah, I mean, stretching. I'll show you guys all my goodies. I have I call it my recovery box, and it's kind of a disaster, but it has everything else that I use in there. Not that I use it every day, but definitely now, since I don't have access to everything, I've been using things in there a lot more. Fuck. Okay, first on the goodie list is my power dot. I am sponsored by them, just so everybody knows, but I use it mostly, I use the active recovery and the massage setting. I do it on my legs a lot, and I do it on my lower back a lot too. I have a new butterfly pad, which is like, it's like a big, literally a butterfly, and you put it across your lower back. And I've been using that. Not that it replaces getting massages, but it definitely is helpful. So next, literally have no idea where this came from or how long I've had it. I'm not sponsored by them, but it's like a little callus guy. This one's called Sandbar. I don't know if I'm allowed to advertise stuff that I'm not sponsored by, but I don't really care. So I use this on my hands between sessions if I have 2-a-days, because my hands get pretty fucked up, if we're being honest. They're pretty fine right now. They're not terrible. So filing down my hands, I don't know if that counts as recovery necessarily, but it's something that I definitely do a lot of. Next, my magnificent cupping kit I got from Amazon for like $12. It's just the little plastic cups. I don't do the glass in the fire and whatnot. I don't trust myself enough. I use this as like my emergency, I'm dying and something really hurts. I personally notice a difference. If you don't do it. But for me, I think it works a lot to relieve some pressure and tension, especially in my lower back. As I go through the week, like right now, I have some cupping marks, not a ton. Okay, next. Also not sponsored. I have this one. It's one of the vibration guys. Any would work. I've seen people use like power drills with different attachments on them that also work. I think these are really good for when I have knots. Sometimes when I'm really sore and can't get warmed up very well, I'll use this guy to kind of get things going a little bit. I know a lot of people have very different ones. I don't think it really matters. I don't know enough about it to know the differences, but I love it. Next, this guy, it's like a fake thumb kind of, so you can dig into stuff. I'll usually use like a lotion or like a CBD cream or something so it doesn't like rip my skin off. And then I have a Graston tool. Yeah. Not sponsored by either, again, if you were wondering. I wouldn't recommend doing it if you have no idea what you're doing. I have a general understanding of the Graston techniques. This makes my neck look ridiculous. And through school, like a very good understanding of the human body, so I trust myself enough. I wouldn't do it on anybody else. I don't trust myself that much. But again, it's like emergency, like I'm dying. I have to do really well the next day and I need to not feel like I'm dying anymore. I'll like dig into some stuff. I know I've used these like on my quads a lot when my quads pull on my knees. I've used them really good on my wrists. My wrists get really tight, so I'll go all through here, get everything loosened up, so hopefully they move a little bit better. Other than that, it's really just foam rolling and stretching. All the boring things that nobody really likes. And that's basically all that I do. I'm not that fancy. I guess you could call my livestock tub fancy because it feels pretty fancy. But that's it. That's how I've been recovering through quarantine. Surviving, kind of almost thriving. Okay, so I almost forgot the most important part, which is hand care. I had to get warm first from my ice bath. So I have a ton of issues with my hands ripping, whether it be from just the amount of volume that I do or because I was on Accutane for a while and that's just kind of like a lasting side effect. I don't know. So what I do, I started with literally a sock, of course a cat sock, and I cut out little holes. You don't have to cut all the finger holes. You can literally just cut across the top and cut a thumb hole. I've since upgraded. My mom made me fingerless mittens. But if you don't have a mom that knows how to crochet and is willing to crochet you fingerless mittens, it's okay. So basically, that's that. When my hands get really bad, I wear these to bed. I've tried a bunch of different like cocktails, if you want to call it that, of hand stuff, but what I've found so far, I just have like a regular lotion, which is fine. I've also used O'Keeffe's Working Hands. I don't know if you can even read that. It's a little bit sticky, so it's not my favorite, but if I'm putting my hands inside of something, it doesn't really matter. And I've also used Cornhusker's lotion, Also pretty sticky, but again, my hands are going inside a mitten, so it doesn't really matter. So basically before bed, I will put on, honestly, lotion and one of these. I've been doing like a big old glop of lotion, this on top of it, and then if I have a specific rip or tear, I'll put Aquifer on top of that. So if you've had a tattoo or something, you know what this is. But basically I put way more than I should on, so it's pretty gloppy and gross, and then put my mittens on, and then I sleep with them. And sometimes like I'll rip them off in the middle of the night because my hands get hot or whatever, and it's not the most comfortable, but it 100% makes them better for the next day. They won't be completely healed, they'll still hurt, but they will be significantly better. And I know a lot of people will get rips right around in this thumb part, which isn't covered. So to fix that, you could either get regular mittens with a thumb, or I've used any kind of like the squishy, stretchy tape. It's super stretchy. And I do the same stuff, put everything on it, finish it with the Aquifer, and then I loosely tape that area so it's covered, because moisturizing it and covering it is really what helps it. It's not the most comfortable to have tape on any part of your hand, but if it's all that you have, it's definitely worth it. So that's it, I think. That little trick definitely comes from gymnastics, because when we were gymnasts, our hands would rip all the time. And you can't really rip and say, I'm not gonna go to practice tomorrow. Like, you have to go to practice tomorrow. So if you need to make little cat sock mittens, if you know how to crochet or knit, or you can go to Walmart. It doesn't have to be expensive, it doesn't have to be fancy. Just get something to cover your hand and get moisture on it, and you will be almost fine. So I hope that's helpful. I hope you learned something that you didn't know, and good luck with your recovering. What kind of wings you getting?